Hello and welcome to another Spectrum Geeks video. My name is Dale, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about this. It's the ATCO GT30e, and it's basically an electric garden tractor. Okay, so thanks for tuning in to this video. You're probably looking at this video because you're interested in getting a garden tractor. Everyone wants to be Forrest Gump at some point in their lives, and I've had this ATCO GT30e for just under a year, so I feel like I've got enough experience with it to talk to you about kind of how it performs, how it works, what I like about it, and a couple of little niggly things that aren't so great, but overall I think it is a good garden tractor. One thing I will say up front, I'm not trying to convince anyone that electrification is the way forward for them. If you prefer to have a petrol or diesel mower, then this probably isn't the video for you. If you watch other videos on my channel, you'll know I'm a big fan of electrification, renewables, solar, battery power, and so it was naturally my kind of thing to kind of decide to get was an electric mower. Even though it does cost a little bit more, hopefully overall long term the cost of running should be a little bit less. So let's talk about the specs of this garden mower and talk about the performance a little bit and some of the features of it. So as already mentioned, is electric. It's using LG battery cells. It's a 48 volt lithium ion 40 amp hour battery, which is around 2000 watts. There's 224 cells in that battery altogether, and it comes with a 5 amp hour charger. So it does take about 8 hours to charge it from fully flat to full if ever you run it all the way down. And again, me personally, I'm charging that off peak with Octopus Energy, so it's only costing me currently 9 pence per kilowatt hour, so the actual charging costs of this are negligible, and obviously I can also charge that from my Tesla Powerwall and solar as well in the future if I want to. In terms of the actual mower specs itself, it has a 84 centimeter cutting width with 7 variable heights, so from 25 millimeters to 80 millimeters. It has a large 240 litre grass collector on the back. I personally don't use it that often. You're probably buying this because you have a large garden area, and even though that is obviously a very large grass collector, getting rid of the grass and disposing it is one of the issues that I have, and we'll come on to that in a moment. It has a 1.2 kilowatt transaxle motor, and it's rear wheel drive, and it has two 1.5 kilowatt cutting blade motors, so again independent cutting on each of those blades, and again a separate motor for the drive as well. Another great thing about the electric mower here is as you get to thicker grass or stubborn things, it will automatically slow the mower down, so it can have more time cutting and then enable itself just to continue on again when the cutting blades are kind of released, so you haven't got to kind of worry about the throttle at all yourself. You can just take care of all of that. So that's that kind of digital controlled power delivery that kind of gives you that unique feature. On the lower half of the cutting blade there, you can see there's a couple of wheels either side. There's anti-scalp wheels to kind of minimize and hopefully avoid you kind of ripping off the grass on some of those high areas. And you can see just above the washer area on both sides is a little kind of hose connector, so when you finish mowing you can plug that into your hose, give it a good blast, and it helps clean the underside of the blades and keep things kind of all in tip-top condition. And there is also a USB charger kind of in the cockpit area of the mower, so if you have your phone and you need to charge it whilst you're going, that's fine. There isn't really anywhere, in my opinion, that's ideally positioned to keep your phone, so if you want to do it, there's a little kind of cubby hole tray down the bottom where you can keep it. There's no cup holder on this version though. Okay, so you can see here on the front there are also a couple of LED lights as well, so if you are using it in the night or dusk time, it does actually provide a good amount of light so you can see what you're doing. There's also a front bumper bar here as well, so I don't know if you ever need to want to kind of pull something out of somewhere, but really this is, I guess you just bash into a wall or something like that as well. I do have a couple of additional attachments on mine. I have the tow bar that's fitted at the rear. I also bought the mulch kit, which for me, with the kind of height of the grass and how often I get around to mowing, hasn't really worked that well. And so after that, I bought the rear deflector, which is what I use most of the time. It's just kind of semi-mulching. I can cut it fine, but it just kind of comes out the back, and I don't have to try and pick things up in the grass collector box, because as I mentioned before, it's a lot of grass. My area of garden in total is just under an acre, so probably about 3/4 of an acre in terms of actual mowing space, and that's actually what this is rated for. So around an acre is what ATCO say you can mow with the GT30e. I can mow all of this, the front and the back, in a single charge with the grass box on the back doing the collection. If I am just kind of deflecting it at the back, it actually will run a little bit longer. I typically have about 1 bar left after I've mowed all of the lawn. I also have a trailer and a seed spreader that I can connect up to the tow bar as well. Actually, it makes it really helpful during the winter months. Obviously, when I'm not mowing the lawn, I can move things around, so stones, gravel, bricks, logs, all sorts of things in the back of the trailer, and lug things around. So, and actually now when I'm doing this video, which is in October 2023, it's kind of a good time to be looking for a mower, in my opinion. Coming towards the end of the season, many people have some deals on. So obviously the elephant in the room, as with all electric vehicles, is the cost. The recommended retail price of the ATCO GT30e is £5,500. I paid dramatically less for that, and also had the mower mulching kit and the trailer thrown in of the price. So I saved about £1,000. It's cost me about 4,500, or maybe just under, for my purchase. So there are deals to be had, but obviously this does cost more than the petrol or diesel equivalent version of it. But the reason I went electric, other than the fact that, you know, electrification is my thing, is in general they are a lot quieter. You would have heard at the beginning when pulling up, obviously there's no engine noise because it's the electric motor driving it along. Actually produces 100 decibels when the cutting blades are on. That's around 85 decibels actually at your ears. And in terms of the life of the vehicle, the reason it should save you money is there's no belts, there's no pulleys, so actual servicing is super straightforward and easy. And being LG Chem batteries, you know, it's a premium battery technology and should have a really long service life. So again, in general, shouldn't have any issues there. In terms of the actual size of the mower, so like me, I have a small gated area into a woodland that I don't really mow much, just a little bit for a footpath, which again is outside of that acre I was talking about. You might have a fence that you need to be able to get through a relatively small gap. So it's around 2,340 millimeters long. It is 902 millimeters wide at its widest point, and then 198 millimeters high at its highest point. And as mentioned earlier, ATCO say it has a kind of range coverage of 4,000 meters squared, which is around 1 acre on a single charge. And in terms of the weight, just the garden tractor itself weighs around 168 kilograms. Obviously you can, with the garden box on and other accessories, you're probably getting up into the 220, 240 kilograms, something like that. Okay, so we'll hop on in a moment and show you some of the controls and what it's like when it's actually operating. Again, I will show you how the grass bin collector works, in terms of it has a little kind of pull-up handle which you can open just to dump the stuff off to the side. But again, I'm not going to really use it for mowing the lawn. I use the diffuser most of the time. In terms of the key, it comes with this little key just here, and it's got kind of two little cutouts on the top of this key, which enable it to slip into the key area and it doesn't pop out. One thing that actually I don't like about the key mechanism on this mower is when you do turn it off, it does eject itself, which I'm sure is a safety reason, but it just means you know, you don't want to leave it plugged in all the time. And the reason why you want to remove the key is it does this annoying thing to kind of get your attention when you've left it by beeping. Let me just show you what that's like. So when you're leaving for a while, so you jump off that seat to move a branch or a stick. When you've done it for a few minutes, it starts making this beeping noise to basically remind you that you've left it on. And the only way to get it to turn off is put your butt back on the seat, or to turn it off. Or what I do every now and then, put a little bit of pressure down on the seat so it thinks you're on it, and then it'll give you a few more minutes, like this. Okay, you can see a little sign down here. It says e-Power driven by Stiga. I'm not sure if ATCO are owned by Stiga. There is a Stiga version of this that has a couple of other features, but is a little bit more money. One of those features, and I've tried to work out a way, and I think I'm close, but not yet. I'll do a separate video if I can. There is an app basically that you can connect to the Stiga garden tractor, which will basically give you some information about how much cutting, battery life, you know, cell life, all that kind of thing. And that requires a Bluetooth module. The ATCO GT30e does have a Bluetooth module in, because when you try and connect it with the app, you see it pop up, but then kind of things go weird and the app dies or something. So I'm not sure if it's an app issue. Obviously it's not supposed to be working with ATCO really. I think maybe there's the MAC address is blocked or something on the Bluetooth module. I don't know, but yeah, so the actual motor obviously sits under here, the cutting mowers are under here, and the battery is up at the front here. I have to turn that damn beeping off. So if you want to gain access to the battery, just lift up the front hood, but again, there's nothing for you to service or maintain in here. If you wanted to, in the winter, you could remove the battery and bring it inside, but as long as you're not leaving it outside in the elements, if you've got a shed or somewhere or a garage you can store it on, the battery is going to be absolutely fine. Okay, so in terms of the controls, once you've sat on the garden tractor and you want to kind of get things moving, obviously you put the key in and you turn it. If you have a little panic or kind of have an emergency situation, you can mash the red emergency stop button, but in general you just turn the key. You need to wait a little moment until the LED lights have stabilized, then you can press the middle power button. Again, wait a moment until it says ready. If you do anything before that, to touch any of the controls or anything, it will have a little safety meltdown, start flashing. You have to turn the key off and start it over again. So slightly different if you were using obviously a diesel petrol mower. You used to just turn the key and off you go. With this, a little bit more patience is required, and again, a little niggly thing, but you do get used to it. But once it's all kind of in ready mode, then you can push the forward or reverse buttons to be able to move forward. Again, another safety thing, when you want to activate the cutting blades, you can press the cutting blade button, they will spin up, but as soon as you press the reverse button, the cutting blades will turn off. If you want to be able to use the cutting blades, there is a reverse button. You need to press and hold that whilst you're in reverse and keep it held down until you start going forwards again, and then that will enable the blades to cut whilst you are in reverse motion. Okay, so as I mentioned, I don't typically use the grass collector, but if you do, once you come to a standstill, you can lift up, basically empty the grass, and then drive off again. Okay, so to get the grass collector off is really simple. There's a little handle at the front, handle at the back here. Just lift it up and it pulls straight off, and then I have to store that in my mower shed out of the way. Here you can see are basically the mounting brackets you have here. If you have the mulching kit, it's basically something that kind of slots into here, and you can then just attach it to these two side pieces. And as you can see here, I also have the towing bar, which, as I mentioned before, I can either just connect up my trailer or the seed spreader or anything else that I want to kind of be able to tow and pull along here. There is a safety feature that obviously once that rear grass collector is on, pushes down this little sensor which has a switch behind it. If that is not connected, like right now, it wouldn't allow you to have the cutting blades on, and that is one of the issues I have with the diffuser, even though it is a legitimate product, it doesn't push down on this sensor enough. So I actually have put a little bit of hot glue in there just to hold that sensor down, and basically I know that my kids aren't around or anything, so it's a risk I decided to take. But obviously that is a safety cutoff feature that has been disabled there. So let me connect up the diffuser, then we'll jump on board and I'll show you how the controls work. Okay, so this is diffuser. Basically it's just a hood, so instead of the grass flying out here and going everywhere, I did do that for a little bit before I decided to buy one of these, because as with all these things, these accessories are relatively expensive. But this just hooks on here and hangs down, and that's it. So now as the grass shoots out, hits the diffuser, and then will be distributed down the back. So let's pop onto the controls and I'll show you some of the other features of this ATCO GT30e. Okay, so we put the key in just over here, and then we see the panel light up just down there. So that's showing us we have full bars on the battery. And then if I just adjust things a little bit so you can see it slightly better, this is the power button that we'd press. So again, we push that, wait for the ready to be constant. Again, if we were to press that and it wasn't on constant, we'd get some error message, which I'll show a little flash up of that. When we're going, we've got a couple of options. If we want to save a bit of battery, we can put it in eco. I've not really noticed any noticeable difference, so I tend to not use the eco function. Here we have the little indicator for the Bluetooth, which I said before, there is a Bluetooth module in here, but it's not permanently active. And here, if we want to turn on the lights, we can. So we just get that pop up here. And if you want to, if you had a really large garden area that's had lots of long straights, not too many turns, then you can use this cruise control function. But again, I personally don't need to use that, and you don't really get much kind of ankle or foot fatigue at all. And then this is the button I was mentioning earlier. If we want to have the blades running, go into reverse, we need to hold that down, and I'll do a little demonstration of that in a moment. And then this is how we start up the blades. So let me do that for you now. So again, if I was to go into reverse, it would cut off. Then if I just go forwards again a little bit, that enables me to turn the blades back on again. And then if I hold down this button, it enables me to go backwards whilst the blades are still spinning. And again, if I go forwards again, I can release the button and the blades stay constant. Okay, so that's it, the ATCO GT30e. So again, apart from just those little niggly things for me, the beeping does get a bit annoying. I wish the key didn't always pop out when you wanted to remove it. You could just kind of have it in and off position and leave the keys there. And again, some of those functions where you know, I've had to glue down that switch. And again, the only other thing is when it has its little moment where all the LEDs flash, you have to turn the ignition off and then turn it back on again. It's not really clear why it's done it. It always seems to flash the same things, and you know, I don't like to read the manual, so I'm sure I'm missing something. But that's it. Like I said, I've had this nearly a year now. I've got no regrets. It's performing really well. Obviously it is a garden tractor, a garden mower, so things do get scratched and stuff, which does mess with my mojo a little bit. But again, it's a tool for taking care of your garden. So my grass is a little bit longer than I would like, so I'm going to cut it on a slightly higher setting. It's not intended, honestly, this beeping, but I'll give you a little kind of finish off where you can see kind of what the mowing looks like, and yeah, a couple of video montage of the garden and the mower in action. So if you have enjoyed this video, please like it and consider subscribing if you haven't done already. All sorts of stuff here on the Spectrum Geeks channel. If you have any questions, comments or feedback, perhaps you've got an ATCO GT30e, leave some comments down below, ask the questions, especially if you've worked out a little trick to make it so the Stiga app works with the ATCO GT30e. That would be fantastic. But yeah, watch the montage, enjoy, but until the next video, take care of yourself. Until next time, goodbye for now. Mowing your lawn has never been so much fun.